right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about third-party financing addendums. I'm so glad that somebody brought this to my attention that we don't have this recorded yet, so thank you. What I want to talk about is how to fill this out. It's a really easy form to fill out. It does vary a little bit, but for the most part, it's pretty easy. You should, before we ever get started, is before you ever fill out any kind of contract, especially because third-party financing addendums are going to be representative of the buying agent, right? So before you go shopping, before you try to buy anything, you need to make sure you have money. So the first things first is you need to have, now this one's from Randolph-Berks Federal Credit Union. They're all pretty much the same. You're just looking for the data on this. So before you go shopping, you should have some kind of pre-approval or pre-qualified letter, period, the end. Otherwise, don't take your client shopping. Once you have that from the lender, we're just going to simply fill this stuff out. So it's pretty simple. This is a mortgage type as conventional. So on the third-party financing addendum, we start off and there's actually, 6 different ways to finance a property. And they're all almost exactly the same. You just need to know what this piece of paper is. So this one says it's conventional. So I'm going to check the first box here, conventional. And so now we know it's conventional mortgage. You don't have to do anything for B through F. If it's a FHA, great. I'm going to talk about that one in just a minute. So what this one shows is conventional financing. There's going to be a first mortgage, of course, right? And the principal amount, guys, do your math. So this one right here is an 80% loan to value. So if I'm buying a $200,000 house, it's pretty simple. If it's a $200,000 house and it's an 80% loan to value, multiply it by 0.8, it's your old 6th grade math. It's a loan of $160,000. So what we're going to put in here is the first mortgage principal is going to be of $160,000. It's not the full $200,000. It's just the loan amount. So the first loan is going to be $160,000. Keep reading, excluding any PMI premium. Due in full okay, so this mortgage is a 30-year mortgage. Most all of them are. It usually doesn't say on here, but if you need to ask the question, you can. 99% of the time, it's going to be a 30-year mortgage. With an interest rate not to exceed, here we go, 3.125. That's pretty easy. For the first blank years of the loan. So this is where it can get a little confusing for most people because there are such things as adjustable rate mortgages. So a lot of times we're going to say, hey, it's going to be at least this for the first 2 years of a 30-year loan or whatever it is. Adjustable rate mortgages have really fallen out of fashion since the 2008 crisis. So you don't see them a whole lot, mostly on commercial stuff. But so this number is going to stay the same. So that 3.125 is fixed for the entirety of the loan. So it's going to be 3.125% per annum, which means per year for the first 30 years. So this is not an adjustable rate mortgage. It'll stay the same the entire way. And then with the loan origination charges on the buyer's loan estimate not to exceed 1% of the loan. Typically that's 1%. You're going to want to speak to the lender and make sure you understand exactly what they're charging. Most of the time it's 1% unless you're doing something kind of oddball or screwy. But 1% is usually it. If there is a second mortgage, sometimes people will do 80-15 and then 5% down. You would just click the second year and you'd use the exact same data. It's the same thing if you're going for a Texas Veterans loan. Loan board based for whatever the amount of the loan is for 30 years at the interest rate established by the Texas Vet Land Board, so that the Vet Land Board figures that one. FHA financing, most of the time when you're doing FHA, it's going to be a 203B loan. For those of y'all that are wondering, we hear these numbers all the time, 401k, 203B, LMNOZ, whatever. They're just lines in the tax code. And since this is FHA insured, it's a 203B loan. And if you forget that, FHA loan type, if you come in here, it's going to tell you that there's a 203K. There's all kinds of fun stuff in here when it comes to these. And you're going to want to talk to the lender. Most of the time it's 203B, which is the normal one. 203K is if you want to rehab the loan. 245A, guys, most of the time it's a 203B, period, the end. If it's just a regular FHA. Again, an FHA insured loan, not less than whatever the loan amount is. So we're going to fill in 160 here, but he's not getting an FHA. Guys, every section on here is about the same. You need the information from the loan officer. One thing I just want to go down here a little bit further is then we get to section 2. This is something that is kind of negotiated back and forth. You cannot be fully approved for a loan until you have a subject property. You have to have a property. Yes, great. You have the best credit in the world and $1 million in the bank. You are pre-approved. Yes, but it doesn't mean it's pre-approved loan for that house. You have to have a subject property that also gets vetted and goes through underwriting, aka an appraisal. So how many days do we have to make sure that the entire loan fits together? Lately, I've been putting 21 days, usually about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, if we really want to make sure that we have enough time for the appraiser to get their work done. The longer on this, the better. However, this can become a negotiating point, and I can't walk you through everything on negotiations. Start with 28 if you're really not sure, 21. It really depends on the availability of the appraisers for this one. You can also check that this contract is not subject to the buyer getting approval. It's a little bit dangerous, but if they have a ton of cash, maybe. And then the last thing that you have to fill in here, so number 3, that you can't adjust that, but right here, so under FHA and VA, of course, section C and section D, if you click either one of these two, it jumps this thing into effectiveness. And basically, you're going to want to put your offer price of the house. So what it's basically saying here, and I'm not going to read through the entire thing, is that it's setting forth the appraised value of the property is not less than what we're offering for it. You can adjust this again for negotiation purposes. Let's say the house is listed for 200, but you want to offer 210, and you're going to tell them, hey, look, I don't care as long as it hits $200,000 appraisal, we'll pay the extra $10,000. You really want to talk to your clients about that to make sure they have the cash in hand and that's what they're willing to do. Because if it is an FHA loan, now they're going to have to put down 3.5% plus $10,000 in that scenario. So most of the time, guys, you're going to want that number to be equal to your offer price. It's just kind of a catch-all if the house does not appraise. And it's just a required provision from the FHA and the VA. If, in this scenario, I'm doing a conventional financing or anything else. So this one's conventional. So this little section does not apply to this particular client. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out of this thing. I'm not going to save anything. No, I'm not going to share it. So I'm going to back out of it. So if there is that and you're still worried about the appraisal, there is one more form. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's called an addendum. For the, why don't I have it? I could have swore it was in here. Let me see. It's the addendum concerning the right to terminate. So guys, if you're using something other than an FHA or a VA loan, you're going to want the addendum concerning the right to terminate due to lender's appraisal. It is one more form that you're going to have to add on it. Make sure you check that box on the 1 to 4 family contract so they know it's there. And this one right here has to do with, hey, there's an appraisal that needs to come through. So I'm going to say here, let's say on this particular example, within 28 days, if this thing does not appraise for $200,000, I get to back out or renegotiate, which is probably what's going to happen. You can do a full waiver. I don't care if it does appraise or it doesn't. I can do a partial waiver saying, hey, I need this thing to at least appraise for $180,000 or whatever it might be. But just keep this in mind because that one on the third-party financing addendum only deals with FHA and VA loans. So it's a really pretty easy form to fill out. You're just missing information, and that information comes from over here, guys. You need to get that pre-approval letter. I cannot stress enough, do not take people shopping until they have a pre-approval letter. No ifs, ands, or buts, because you're just going to spin your wheels and waste a lot of time. And it's also going to show you how committed your clients are to the purchasing process, because this is all them. We don't mess with it. They have to go get money. Talk to the guys to get money. I'll help you spend it. That's always the joke I have. All right, so I hope that makes sense. If you got any questions, put them in the comments below here on the YouTube thing. Make sure you're subscribed, because when I put all these things out, I want to make sure everybody's getting them. Y'all have a great day.